So we are back live here on Bucks and Brews. We had a little technical issues with Podbean there, but here we go, and we're gonna have a debt update with Eric this morning. We're very excited about that. We're gonna talk about what we're drinking real quick. So I'm actually very excited about this one. I'm drinking an Arnold Palmer Spiked because it's the morning and I don't want to drink anything too heavy right now. So this is a half iced tea, half lemonade, which is of course an Arnold Palmer, and then it's got some alcohol in it. And then if I finish that, I got a Mike's.
I say, and this morning, I'm drinking Smirnoff Ice Smash, red, white, and berry.
Nice.
Very exciting. I say mine's a little higher alcohol content than yours.
I believe Eric's got Gatorade.
Gatorade's gone. We're on to our morning Yoda cup, Yoda Best Son cup of Earl Grey tea.
Nice. Love some tea. I'm having tea myself.
We're both having tea this morning. That's fantastic.
So Eric has so many updates. We met with Eric back in, I want to say, early November.
Yeah.
And we talked to him about debt, and he has given me updates, but we have kept them purposely from Nick because we want Nick to get so excited this episode that somebody's going to comment just like they did the other day to calm your tits. It's only Podbean, but in all honesty, we get excited. So if you don't like that, too bad. So Eric, let's get some updates here. I know you bought something fun and new.
I did, and Nick seems to be the anti-Harley, but that's all right with me. So since then I have purchased my midlife crisis mobile. I picked up a 2021 Harley Davidson.
Nice.
So
have you gotten it out yet?
I have 200 miles put on it this year.
There you go.
And the reason being is bought a new one, so I didn't have to work on it all the time. B, give it 5 years. B, the price was absolutely right, and C, I was in a position where I could finally get something that I've been wanting. I've waited 20 years to get a motorcycle, so to get a newer motorcycle. So I'm pretty happy about that. Just following some of the advice, I agree on one hand of a splurge purchase, but on the other hand, it was paying myself. So for some hard work and some determination, and we've come around quite a bit. And since November, turned life around pretty well. So it's been great.
So I know that we're friends on Facebook, so I can only see little bits, and most people don't share everything on Facebook. So, but I did see your Harley that you had it out.
Yeah.
We had our fun with that. Anybody that rides a bike is better than the person that doesn't ride at all, right? So
I do not ride.
So now did you? And then I see that I think you got a new job.
I did. Yep.
Yeah.
When we spoke last, I was working. I'm not going to say company names. I will say the industry, however. When we spoke in November, I was working for a distributor of hardwood flooring. And I learned some things on that broadcast. When we were talking about finances, the biggest thing was understanding the finances. And I started looking at my time worked on my time cards versus my time worked on my paycheck. And they were not aligning. So there's some legal issues there, and that's why I can't express who they are. But
you were basically working hours you weren't getting compensated for.
Yeah. So when you work 70 hours a week and you're only bringing home a paycheck for 55, there's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering why I was working so hard and not having the reciprocal on the income. And it was odd. It was something that you guys had said on the broadcast. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So I looked into it, started investigating, and found out that I was being skimmed on my hours. In the meantime, I had been working on finding new employment. My new company is a billion-dollar company that I work for. I was thankful, lucky, and blessed enough to be brought in at a rate of pay commiserable to my experience. And Commiserable? I said commiserable. I meant
You
to say
did.
commensurable. Is that
Thank
the
you.
correct word? Yeah.
That is much better, yes.
Okay.
I was gonna say something, but I didn't want to sound like
I was
am.
commiserable at that other company.
I would have just gone with, I'm actually getting paid the money I want for the experience that I have, because I'm too dumb to know these big words.
Nick is
And that's why you own a Honda. No, but no, realistically though, it was one of those situations where I'd been working on getting this job for a while, and by no means is it a dream job because it's still working for someone else. But on the flip side of things, I looked at the company's history and their track history with their employees, and I live real close to this place here in Portage, Michigan. It's pretty well known. Unfortunately, the colors of the company are not my favorite, but
Sure,
black
hoping
and
green
yellow
and
is
white.
Wu-Tang forever, so we're okay with that.
So,
But this company, they actually allowed me to negotiate my rate of pay coming in, and I came in real high, and they countered with right at the number I wanted. So this company takes care of their employees
that's good.
fantastically. They give us fantastic benefits. Here are the best things. My health insurance monthly, because of the size of the company, decreased almost $700 a month.
That's huge.
There's one
Big
thing.
boy money right there.
The second
Well-
thing, my contributions on my
Let's-
401k.
Well, let's back up for a minute.
Okay.
So the health insurance is a big deal because you have a young son,
Mhm.
and you're using that insurance.
I'm utilizing it.
So I mean, the fact that you're paying less for it now, and I assume it's a good policy.
I have yet to pay anything out of pocket, and
So,
he
I mean,
is
that's not only a $700 a month saving, but you're not paying out of pocket yet. So that's a huge savings.
absolutely.
So again, you're onto your retirement now.
Yep. Yep. Well, I'll back up to the health insurance real quick.
Sure.
The company gave me with their health savings account at the beginning, right in the beginning, my insurance, I waited 30 days for my health insurance for this company.
Yep.
And that's just the big difference between, a major corporation versus mom and pop shop. I get it. I understand it.
Yep.
And with you understanding health insurance policies, there are so many out there. This company said, here's $1,000. We're going to put this in a health savings account for you. Here's your credit card or your debit card. Use it as you need to, or you can buy up, you could buy the policies and stuff like that. But what I was paying monthly, well, let me see here. What I was paying weekly at my old company is what I'm paying monthly at my new company. And I'm saving money. So actually I'm paying less. So there was more money back in my pocket.
Well, and having that HSA is a huge tax write-off too.
Oh, absolutely.
So I mean,
Well,
if you max out your HSA every year, you get to take that off of your, income.
Yep. And you get to earn money on it. So,
Correct.
hopefully at the end of however long of a time you've paid for a full doctor visit. I mean,
Yeah, because it's obviously less until you get enough money to be able to invest it. And of course, some people are worried about that. I mean, I have about 6,000 in mine because I use it, because, with my wife and daughter being sick, which of course she's off my insurance at the end of the month. But I took 1,000 and I threw it in the investment account. I mean, it's made $38 in 2 months.
Yeah, that's great money.
That's great.
Like I say, when I had my HSA, I maxed mine out. We almost my accountant's like running numbers, and she's like, "You guys might have overdid it," and we're like, "Nope." I'm
You
telling you, like
penny,
I'm guaranteeing you, I'm at least $5 short.
Yep.
And she's like doing math, and she's like, "All right, congrats, you missed it by $12." And I
Yep.
was like, "Wham, let's go!" And so, because
Same.
it's pre-tax money goes
Yeah.
in there. I'm going to gain in my money on it, and it's going to be used for medical. So
Well, for anybody listening, Nick and I are big proponents of game the system as much as you can. So when it comes to taxes and when it comes to insurance and when it comes to investments, we know what the rules are and we walk right up to the edge of the rule. We never cross it, but we are right there.
I think, and that's one of my favorite investments, just because, right? Like I think everybody, if given the opportunity for an HSA, because it is just a thing that you can set it. You never have to think about it. It takes money every week out of your paycheck, whatever it is. And when that time comes in the summer and your kid breaks an arm or does whatever, and you don't have the money to go to the doctor, no, you officially just swipe a card and it's officially paid for, right? Like, and Eric, like you have, so my company, the first time they came out, they're just like, hey, if you take an HSA, we'll give you $500 or something like that, right? Just give it to you. And so most people were like, I'm not even gonna put into it because I don't even use $500. And then it became, well, if you put in 500 or $1,000 or whatever, anything between, we'll match that. And I was like, fuck, you're gonna match $1,000. Here we go. Like,
right, exactly.
And so, yeah, I would say $2,000 at the end of it, like sitting around, because I have a wife that we hope that she gets pregnant. Like, I have a kid that she constantly goes to the doctor.
Well, I think the thing I love the most about an HSA is it not only covers like doctor visits, but it can cover the dentist, it can cover glasses, you can buy Band-Aids, you can buy Tylenol. There's so many things that an HSA covers. So, I mean, it really is. If you have the option, it's a great investment.
And I mean, like, literally, if it's used for medical. So, I mean, if you're, David and I, and you're out drinking and all of a sudden you realize you need aspirin, because that's what the night was.
You're gonna get a little hangover.
Yeah, I mean, go buy ibuprofen, right? Because that's a medical covered thing. So
It will not pay for preparation age for Honda riders, though.
I actually probably could prove that if I have enough chafing off of how much my bike rumbles, that I could probably get that covered.
I was just saying that your butt hurt because my bike is better than yours.
All I'm saying is, you've gone 200 miles, which I'm surprised that it got that far. But
no, it's lovely coming into the camaraderie of bikes, and it's nice stepping into a whole nother lifestyle. I tell people all the time now, you will listen to me because I'm a biker now. So but no, with the HSA, you were absolutely right with it, with the purchasing of Band-Aids and things like that. I purchased thermostats. There are other things that you can buy with it, like the teething pads. If you look at it from the pediatric standpoint, Tylenol, a lot of the gas relief is fine line, but there are websites out there that you go to the website. If it's not on that website, you can't buy it with your HSA, but you walk into Walgreens or any of the major pharmacies out there, they're going to show you it's HSA approved. And if you got that card, you can swipe it. And a lot of the places too, if it doesn't work out that way, it'll let the transaction go through and then they'll send you a bill in the mail. So,
and the worst case scenario is one thing I love about HSA. The worst case scenario is you spend something on a transaction and you get quick audited, is what I would call it, right? It's not a full audit. All they do is look through a transaction, right? That doesn't scream doctor. And they say, hey, I'm gonna need a copy of this receipt. And you go, oh, I don't have it. Let's say for some reason you bought something, you were at Walgreens and you bought a Red Bull. Okay. And some other stuff. You're like, so part of it qualifies. Now they're going to tell you, hey, you have to pay back this $3.12, right?
Yep.
And you don't get penalized, right? Until you abuse it way too much. But it just says, hey, so show me the receipt. Hey, I bought gauze bandages. I bought burn cream for, my, when I get off my bike and burn the leg. You do whatever you want. I mean, but the fact is, the only thing they're going to do to you is say, hey, you have to reinvest this money, right? They force you to put it in. So, if you're not out buying a big screen TV with it, it's not, you don't have anything to worry about, right?
True story.
So you go, now you're getting a 401k match. How's that going?
Wonderfully. I signed up. Is it safe to say who my handler of my 401k is? Is that?
Absolutely. Of course.
So the company I work for uses Vanguard.
Oh, I love Vanguard.
So
Vanguard. Sorry, I don't mean to stop you, but
no, you're good.
Just for everybody, right? Vanguard for the past 10 years has had a track record where they have been top 2 for the past 10 years, and they actually, I believe it was 8 out of the past 10 years have been number 1. 2 of them, right? Another company kind of swooped in and they did all right. So like,
I gotta say, my favorite investments are Vanguard investments.
Yep.
Always. I always look for Vanguard products I can throw money into, ETFs or whatever. They always make a ton of freaking money.
Well, they're the way I see it, I don't know. but they're very smart. They actually, like, I feel like they're a company that works on what they do. They don't just set it and forget it. They're like, hey, we see this type of thing happening, we do this. Like, they're constantly moving your money to make it smarter for you, and you can do it. Like, hey, I want to be really risky, medium, and no risk at all because I'm getting ready for retirement. But they'll work everything for you. And of companies that I trust, because you know how lazy I am, I'm just going to throw my money at it, like 401k. I'm going to throw that money there and just hope and pray. And to know that I'm with a company that, like Vanguard, that literally is just going to have a track record. I mean, I talked about it 10 years, but if you look at their 25-year track record, you'll just be blown away. It's fantastic, right? Like, I was with Gentex with Wells Fargo that owned a lot of Vanguard, and then they switched, and I don't know who it is now. I have to figure that out. But I'm actually meeting with, right, doing finance podcast. I'm meeting with a couple advisor friends, and we're going to talk about rolling over my 401k to like self-directed IRAs.
Well, if they want to come on, we are happy to have them.
So yeah, but so you're with Vanguard, and now what's the, like, you getting a match? What are you getting?
So that's another.
Look at the smile on his face. Look at this.
I'll tell you. I've been in the workforce since I was 8 years old. I've quit jobs and relied on 401ks, cash outs, to kind of carry me over until I find another job.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of people screw up, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm young. Well, there was a lot of investigation, a lot of homework that went into joining this company that I work for now. Okay. So I did a lot of homework and a lot of research, and I've been in my home for 16 years now. Never even gave this job a thought. Number one, it's a factory. And I've always sworn off factories. I'm like, I don't really want to work in a factory. I'm too skilled, blah, blah, blah. I was too good to work in a factory, right? I'm just going to say this one more time. I love where I work. I love the company, and I love what I do. It's everything I wanted in a job ever. So, but anyway, so I signed up for Vanguard my first, 14 days at my job. I get a letter in the mail. Okay, here's your login, password, information, blah, 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 blah. Oh, by the way, thanks for joining Vanguard. Here's $1,500 from us and $1,500 from your company. Welcome aboard.
Good for you.
That's phenomenal.
So it's not a huge match. They'll match up to, my company will match up to only 5% of my contributions.
100%?
5.
Yeah, 100% of 5%?
Yes.
Yeah, but that's at this point above
average. I mean,
it is. It's above industry average, because I'll tell you, with my company, which is a big company, we match 50% of everything up to, we just raised it. It used to be up to 4%. So if you put in 4, they gave you 2. Now it's up to 6. So if you put in 6, they give you 3,
which is huge.
So it's free money.
Yeah.
So 5%, I contribute 5% of my paycheck. They match my 5%.
Yeah.
So 10% goes in.
Actually, I think it's 4%. It's 4% until I've been there 5 years, and then they'll bump it up. But first of all, right out of the chute, I had money in my pocket. They gave it to me. Here you go. You're not vested yet. Once you get there, you can have this money. So here's the cheese. Work for it. Stick around for 5 years, and it's yours.
No, that's
so
great.
This company also does twice a year. They do a profit sharing, but they don't give you money. They give you 401k contributions.
Yep.
So it's a percentage. It just depends on how well the company does.
Yep.
But so since I've been there, 2 raises. I started February 1st. I've gotten 2 pay increases.
We're 2 months in.
We're 2 months in. 2 pay increases, which means that I've increased my 401k contributions twice.
Yep.
And at the end of the first month, they sent me a letter, said, here's what your money is doing for you right now. 2 weeks later, after 2 paychecks, by the way, I'm getting paid weekly now.
Which is great.
2 weeks later, I get a email. Here's how your money's done in the last 2 weeks. The end of the month of February, I got another letter in the mail. Here's how your contributions worked for you in February. 2 weeks after that, or March, I'm sorry. And now I think Friday or Saturday, I got another email. Here's how your money's working for you. So they keep me updated. Not only that, but they've changed my plan because I'm in a medium risk plan.
Yep.
I'm 42 years old. I've got, 15 years to work. I'm in a medium risk plan. Here's where we moved your money to. We saw money being lost here, but we saw missed opportunities there. we're moving the money around. When you were talking about being on guard, taking care of their people, you're absolutely right. They actually work. You know, prior to that, I was with the Hartford, and the Hartford's just like, okay, well, here's your plan. You can do what you want with it. Now, the company that I worked for prior, actually 2 companies ago, I had a lot of control over my 401k contributions, stuff like that. At the end of my first year there, I was the only person that had over a 3% return on their investment. I was at 17%, but it was just because I watched the market and I moved my money a lot.
Sure.
But now I don't have to do that. So my money's already moving around. Okay. So $3,000 initial contribution. I've contributed close to another, I don't know, the last 2 months, close to another $500.
Okay.
And I'm already at $4,700 saved, and I've only put out of pocket less than $1,000. So another opportunity there. So
I love companies that want people to retire, right? Instead of like this whole forced retirement, like people that set you up. Like, it's one thing to offer, but you know, like when you say, hey, you know, instead of getting quarterly bonuses in our pocket, like they force you to retire, or you know, they force, and like to me, it doesn't bother me because, you know, financially you should be able to live off of what they pay you. If not, right, change that structure. But I am all about that because, and it was funny because we talked about that on some of my podcasts because, I was the person who I was investing 25% in the Roth 401k and 5% in the traditional 401k. Like I was living so below my means, that like when I did get fired when I got fired, like it didn't change my life because, okay, now I don't have my investments growing for me, but I built up so much. And, you know, we got quarterly bonuses and my friends would be like, hey, I got $1,700. And I'm over here looking at mine going, I got $1,100. Like, what the heck? And I was like,
Because 600 went to your investment.
yeah, I was like, dude, you don't invest anything, do you? Nope. Like company match and maybe $5 a week to stock or something. I'm like, all right, like you do know that the end of your life is gonna, yeah, but if I get that far, and it's like, all right, statistics show that you're gonna be there.
When you're young, you don't think about those things,
Right.
but you really need to start thinking about it. And you know, I want to touch base on this later this episode, Eric. Your kids. I know you got 3 kids.
Yep.
So you're starting to build your wealth. So the question will be, you know, after we get through your debt, what are we doing for them?
Yeah.
How are we building their wealth?
We're getting there too.
Okay, fantastic. I love, we are so passionate about the kids and we want to hear that, but continue because I know you've paid off some stuff.
This sounds like a great company.
It does. It sounds like a fantastic company.
I want to congratulate you on bettering your life by finding a company that generally cares more about you.
Well, you know, and here's another thing. I meant to say this, and I actually forgot my train of thought, but Nick brought me back. So, you know, you can tell great companies because they want to cultivate great employees.
Yes.
And they realize that in cultivating these great employees, they're going to lose them.
Yep.
But hopefully they lose them to a better job in their company. So I know, you know, with everybody I coached with, probably Chris is the only guy I never wanted to lose. Chris, and I knew Marv would never leave me. But, you know, when I had middle school coaches and stuff, my goal was always to get them to a point where they could go and become a coach in a better position than when they came to me. Because, again, if I teach them how to be a better coach, they can go and take a program over and impart my knowledge onto another generation of kids.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the same with jobs. I mean, you know, if you have a job and, you know, your boss is really cultivating your knowledge,
yep,
the best thing they can have is, yeah, we have a lot of turnover because my employees get promoted, not my employees leave.
Yeah.
My employees get promoted. So you want to work for me because, you know, 2-3 years down the line, you're moving on to a better job.
Well, and, you know, and we look at it like you know, we talked about it on one of the episodes past. It was like, find a company that sees the value in you that you know that you have in yourself, right? And when I walked in, right, like I negotiated stuff. I negotiated, you know, and I was like, look, they're going to be like, oh, what is your title? No, I'm the executive regional manager, right? Like this is what I am the highest qualified minus this person. Like this is okay, like right, and literally run with it, right? But do I have responsibility? Have I earned it? You know, like it's 100%. Yeah, I mean, this is what I want, right? And
Well, that's what Eric did. He went in and he negotiated. He said, "This is what I want."
yep.
And of course, he shot high, which you
Good for
should
you.
always shoot
I
high,
say, yeah. Most
knowing that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm asking for $800 an hour, but they're probably not going to pay $800 an hour. But if they pay me $400 an hour, I'm so happy. And I'm just throwing out random numbers because I know those are not accurate.
You're not far off.
Okay, so
say what explains the Harley money all of
No
a sudden.
kidding.
Jesus.
So continue, my friend.
Okay, so I do want to give a momentary shout out to the one of the people that work at this company and noticed my t-shirt the other day. I hope that they stumble across your podcast today and they can actually hear my success in the company, because where they work, they're not happy in their position, but they are very happy with the company.
Oh.
And there are some things on the horizon. Can't divulge too much. I'm on a fast track to leadership with the company. And when they hired me, they knew some of these things that were changing with the company. So they hired me with a role intended for me. I just have to work my way to it, and they have to formulate the plan. And this person is now working closely with me to get to where they need to be in the company. So I hope they stumble across this. That's the first thing. The second thing is you were saying something about the bosses promoting people and getting them better jobs. That my boss, this is the first time I've ever had a boss on the same wavelength as me, to where they know that I'm not going to sit stagnant. And they've also seen my job hopping. And I have no shame in jumping jobs at all, ever in my life. Now, this company that I'm at, I went in with the intention of retiring from here because of their benefits, their background, their longevity, their pay, all the opportunities. But my boss actually said to me the other day, "Hey, I'm gonna break it down in a nutshell because I'm without ego, first and foremost, and second of all, I don't want to draw this out into a long story." But he said, "You're doing a good job." I said, "I try." He said, "No, you succeed." So he is encouraging to every employee that he has and wants to get them where they want to be. If you want to build things every day for the rest of your life, you can make good money building things for the rest of your life. If you want to grow other employees, they'll get you in a position for that, and they'll set you up for success within the company. If you are not getting promoted in the company that I work for, and if you are not succeeding in your position or making more money or doing things that you want to do in this company, the only person holding you back is you. And that's a very difficult challenge. Management is that way in most companies. They don't want to promote you because they don't want to pay you more money. They want to give you more tasks and more responsibilities in order to do your job and to lessen their responsibilities. This company says, okay, if that's too much responsibility for you, we're going to help somebody else get into that position and take those responsibilities over. That's huge with a company, especially when you have over 5,000 employees, especially when you're turning out the inventory that you are, especially when you're receiving the merchandise like you are. This company pays attention to every single intricate ebb and flow, because at the end of the day, that $1 amount equates to profitability of the company, promotability of the employees. And not only that, but it shows the track record of, hey, we're able to not only keep our company afloat, we're not only able to promote amazing products that you see on every single hospital and TV show out there, but also to produce quality products and keep our employees happy. So
that's great. I'm glad you said so. We kind of had a conversation. So Friday, I went to the casino.
Yep.
I did a little bit of drinking, right? And I'm one of the few people I know that still tips the porter in the restroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go give him some money. And he's like, "Oh, you don't have to do that, man." And I was like, "I don't have to do anything in this life, right?"
Right,
Like,
right.
I was like, "Look," and he's like, I was like, "Do you, I was like, thank you for what you do." I was like, if you give to the person who most people see as the bottom, and you as a person take that and run and decide that you don't want to be there and you're going to go with whatever, I was like, this company will promote you. This company will do things for you. And if not, that's not the company you need to be with. And he's like, yeah. I said, look, I can't guarantee you're going to get your generational promised land of where you want to be off of this, but you know what? Your kid's going to walk in, they're going to see that you started somewhere, and hopefully they start a little higher than you and then make it higher, right? Like, it's going to take time, but you're going to get there. And dude, like, to me, if you find a company that cares and actually understands what you described, right? Promotion from within, giving a crap about these people. Like, you're going to find people that want to show up to work. You're going to find that dedicated everything. So I really, does the company that you work for start with an S?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my best friend's like a head engineer for that company. He was over in New York, and then actually now is down in Texas doing remote stuff. So
Does he loves his job, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Has great bosses, does great things. He actually develops and designs brand new
Parts.
needs.
Okay.
Brand new
Gotcha.
needs. Yeah. So I said it's great that I know what company you're talking about. So, and they're a fantastic company to work for. And I think that's great.
So I'm gonna pause us for a second here. I want to go to something. So Nick knows this story, but I don't believe Eric does. So I'm in a survey at some point. It was a focus group. I couldn't find my words. So I'm in a focus group at one point. And we're talking about money and kids and stuff. And the guy goes, well, do you want your children to have a better life than you? And I know my answer, and I know Nick's answer. Eric, do you want your children to have a better life than you?
I want my children to someday wipe my ass and take care of me, but enjoy life until he gets to that point. Absolutely, I want my kids to have a better life than I do.
Absolutely. So you want them to ride a Honda instead of a Harley? Good for you.
So this is the thing that kills me with this actual focus group we did. And they asked all of the men, do you want your kids to have a better life than you? And every man said, yes, absolutely, I do. That's my goal. I want my kids to have a better life than me. And they asked the women, and the women go, no. And I thought that was crazy. And the guy looks at me and he goes, so why do you want your kids to have a better life than you? I said, I work really hard in my life. I want my daughter to do better than I do, because that's why I work so hard, so she can have a better life. And he looked at one of the women and he goes, why don't you want your child to have a better life than you? She goes, I don't care if they have a better life. I just care if they're happy.
Yeah.
If they're happy and they don't have a better life than me, that's fine. And it really showed to me the difference in the mindset between men and women. Women are about, if you're happy with what you're doing, that's a wonderful thing. And men are about, no, I have to provide, I have to make things better, I have to work my ass off so that they have a better future than, what I have.
Yep.
And, of course, we sit there, the older we get. So Eric and I are basically the same age. We're within a couple of years of each other. Nick's about 10 years younger. And
don't about, I am.
Well, not from Eric, but for me, yes.
Yeah.
So, our goal, and we talk about it often. I talk about it with Nick all the time, with our two daughters. I talk about it with Eric and his kids. We want our children to be able to experience not only the hard work that we've had to do, but also success from that hard work. And while I'm sitting here, I'm going to read a comment from Harpo Mental Floss that says, I'm happy I do nothing, all die indoors, and I'm saving the world. Okay. And
Mom, and you said doing nothing
won't get you anywhere.
I say,
and I think the point of that is, I would assume the point of that is you got to work hard or you're not going to get anywhere.
He's unemployed right now, doing nothing won't get him. But
I see that. Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic.
Absolutely loves Eric's answer. And, so getting back to the talk here. So, your retirement.
Yeah.
Mine? Yes.
Yeah. So your
Okay,
retirement's fantastic. What else can we say about the job?
Well, so I'm gonna add to what you just said, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, about the children having a better life. Both of my children have seen me grow as a person. My oldest is 20, will be 21 this year. My middle child now is going to be 19, and I didn't lose my job, Harpo, by the way. I actually got a better job.
He lost his job because he quit it and went to something greatness.
Yep. Yeah, no, we moved on to a different to a completely same job industry, but a different company. But anyway, not blowing you off, Harpo, by the way. But my children have seen me struggle. They've seen me struggle with my addictions. They've seen me struggle with relationships. They've seen me struggle financially. The one constant that they have seen over that duration of time is our home. Okay. Yes, I want my children to have a better life. I'm not handing them anything. They have to wait until I'm dead and gone before they get their payday. But in the meantime, I want them to understand that if you want something, work for it. If you want something, you have to work hard for it. You know, I've worked hard to keep the electricity on in my home. I've worked hard to keep a vehicle in the driveway. What are you doing? You blowing kisses?
Yeah,
I am.
But that's where things are. You know, one of the best things is yes, these COVID stimulus checks have been fantastic. My 21-year-old son owns a motorcycle. He's 21.
What kind?
Husqvarna, dual sport. Yep, it's a road and dirt, enduro type bike. It was my dad's when he passed away, and he decided that he was going to ask if he could buy it from my stepmom. Instead of asking for it, he asked if he could buy it. They negotiated it. This is how it works. It's a monthly payment plan of whatever he can afford, but he still makes those payments every single month, even though he's not on a loan. So he's still making those payments because he's structured that way. He owns his own truck outright. You know, he's got a job, and he's asked me on multiple occasions, you know, how much do you make an hour? You know, and when I left my last job, when he saw that he was making almost as much as me at my last job per hour, he's like, Dad, you work far too hard for the money you make. I'm like, you're absolutely right. Everybody works far too hard for the money that they make because they allow people to dump more stuff on them. You know, so these are the, and that's not necessarily the case 100% of the time, but you know, your value in yourself and how much you value yourself does not relate to dollars. It does not relate to time exchange for a company. If you're happy, you know, that's where it's at. And that's the biggest thing for me right now is that I'm happy where I'm at. So my investments are good. My benefits are great. The company that I work for is fantastic. A lot of times I work overtime, don't even realize I'm working overtime.
Yeah.
You know, and I work hard. And I think Dave probably just showed you my office, my quote unquote office, no cubicle walls. You know, and I don't do anything extremely glorious, but when I wake up to go to work, I take a shower, I go to work, I enjoy my day. You know, I enjoy my coworkers, and I enjoy punching out and going home because I can leave work at work and be able to go home and enjoy my life again. So
I definitely missed that about my W-2. So it's funny because I just asked him if it was the old company I worked at because I'm so used to that. I won't say your company, but we both have warehousing experience. We both have logistics backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
We come from that. But you know, when you're not in a cubicle wall area. So it's funny because I literally have a closet for my office right now because of how much I'm not in the office, but they need a space, right?
Yep.
I can walk in. I have a computer that I have to get a few things in there, but if I'm in the office, right, something's wrong because I need to be out in the field. I need to be doing things. But I say, and you've been doing it for your life. I mean, for the most of it, right? Like, so once you understand warehousing, right? Like it runs so much different than anything else in this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you get it, you're fantastic at it. You know, people be like, oh, you're lazy, you do this. And it's like, no, I'm just really, really good at my job and know how to do it very well, right? Because this isn't rocket science. You just treat it like it is. I just comprehend this crap, right? Like this is product movement 101. Here to here to here, I need to figure out how to make that happen the fastest fucking way possible. And we all know, right? What's the quickest way to a destination? A straight line. If you're zigzagging across, like my mind comprehends a straight line. I don't like if we could cheat in baseball and softball. It's you run from first to third. You don't run to second, baby. But you know. So we do this because we comprehend it. I mean, I assume that you're getting promoted. You're fantastic at what you do. You understand that warehouse mindset is completely different than factory mindset, right? Like Factory is creating, developing the product. Warehouse movement is the movement of product, right? Like it is not anything to do with getting this thing created. I can create flows for how the product moves, but I don't need to sit here and develop a product itself.
Well, I think the greatest example of anybody that's great at their job, because, you know, I get this with coaching. I even get this, you know, with what I do for a full-time job. If they say, man, your job must be easy because I never see you really working very hard. Or, you know, I remember hiring a coach once and he goes, what do you make? And I told him what I made. And he goes, man, that's great for 2 months of work. Yeah. If you think it's that easy,
Have at it, buddy.
you're just not seeing everything else we put into this stuff. I mean, we work hard in unseen areas so that, you know, everything runs as smoothly as possible.
Yeah, you know, and so Eric, I know we're running a little bit. I want to talk about you personally now, if that's all right. So
Yeah, so we talked about debt early on in November.
yep, got some debts. With the motorcycle, did you pay cash or did you finance it?
Financed.
You financed a bike. I say all the things we do in this world, and he finances a bike. Did you trade in your old one?
Nope.
Okay, so what have you done that's a positive?
Okay. So this is where I learned from Nick and Dave. Well, okay. This is my interpretation of what I learned from Nick and Dave is if you're going to make a big purchase, put down as much as you possibly can if you're going to finance. Okay. I did that. And that's where I was going with the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Was paying yourself back, you know, taking care of yourself. And, you know, I thank Uncle Sam for being my sugar daddy this year. You know, there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately were not benefited from our stimulus returns. And I could have very easily turned around and put that money into an investment account or, you know, whatever. But Nick, this is directed towards you. I'm in a situation now where I have 0 credit card debt since November.
Congrats.
I have 0 behind payments.
Okay.
I have actually paid additional. My first Harley payment is due next week. I've already made 2 payments. So I'm on top of things. And not only that, but I actually looked at the guy when he told me what my payments were. And I was like, it's been great talking with you. I just can't do that. I'm sorry. And the guy's like, this is bottom line. And I was like, you can do better. And he's like, I can't do better. And I said, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to have to go to Marketplace and buy a Honda or something along those lines. And don't get me wrong, every bike I've ever owned up to this point has been a Honda. So I have always been a Honda guy. So,
yeah.
But it was like, if this doesn't fall inside my financials, this is not going to work with my budget plan. This is not going to work with my financial plan. And it's too much. I cannot afford it.
Sure.
20 minutes later, he came back with half.
That's huge.
What my monthly payments were. And with that, I mean, yes, I'm financing it, but what I had to determine was how much more time am I going to have to give my company in order to afford this bike? And when I smash the numbers together, I'm like, I don't have to give them any more time. I can afford this bike without it, without having to work overtime. I don't have to work harder to afford something that I want. I can work and get what I want.
Yeah.
Since November, I have 2 savings accounts now. I have one for my children and one for me. Both of them have, I'm not going to say a substantial amount of money, but there are more than 2 digits in it in both accounts.
That's what matters, baby. I say everybody gets to see the baldness of it. So let me ask you a question though. On your savings account, the number one thing that's important to me, how is that set up?
What do you mean?
So the question, I guess, are you automating that process by putting in a certain amount of money every week, every paycheck.
It's direct deposited out of my paycheck, so I don't even know the money's gone.
Fantastic, right? So like you are setting it for a guaranteed. Like you have no choice whether the bills come and you say, oh, I don't have the $10 to put over here. It just automatically does it. And now you don't see the hit.
And my bank account is set up to where if I do get close to my limit on my checking account, it pulls from my personal savings account, and my children's account does not carry it. So my children's account cannot be touched via the bank unless I physically go into my account and move that money.
Sure.
So, and I won't. Years ago, I did have a savings account for both my kids, and that was taken away from me. It was actually money stolen from me in a relationship. For those of you out there that have joint bank accounts, if something goes awry in your relationship, just be mindful. If your spouse or your loved one is on your bank account and things don't go the way that you want them to, they can drain those accounts. They don't need permission. If they're on the account, they have access to that money. So that's why I set this one up this way, was to make sure that nobody can touch my kids' money.
I'm going to interject for a minute. So most people don't know this, but I've only ever missed softball practice or games for 3 reasons. One, my cat got really sick. I missed a week of practice because I love my cats more than pretty much anything. The second time I missed was because my wife was almost raped and we had a court case I had to be at, so I missed the beginning of a game. And then the third time is when she walked out of the house and left me because she was sick of my bullshit. And literally when she did that, she closed accounts that we were on, but she left money in there because she figured, she left my account alone and took the money that we were joint on and left half of the money in there because she goes, a lot of that's your money. I'm not going to take your money from you. And not everybody would do that. Like Erick said, if you're on a joint account at any point in time, you can go wipe that account out.
You're the first one I know, because I have plenty of friends that have been in relationships where, we're talking some substantial money. And guess what?
It's just gone.
Yeah. And they wake up, they go to the bank, and you can get a check for $100,000. Take that check, bring it anywhere you want. Right. And until you realize it, that's what it is. And I you know what? I've been with my wife almost 11 years. I absolutely love her, but I do know that I have a separate account, not for getting away, not for anything, but because, hey, look, if something happens, blah, blah, like I still need that real estate to get paid until we figure it out in divorce court, if it ever happens, right? If if everybody else says, if she wises up and makes the right decision, but
well, I don't always make the right moves, but having a separate bank account is the right move. And mind you, we're still on each other's accounts.
And we're not, Dave Ramsey is, if you guys don't trust each other and do whatever, it's not anything, right? I know that in times of hardship, right, I make irrational decisions. My wife will make irrational decisions, right? And I need to care about what has made the lifestyle for my kid and for us. Like, again, me being the person, again, I say I'm not going to go spend this money, but like, if it's irrational, whatever, but I know that this money is set here to make those payments until I have to pay my wife off or until she has to pay me off, right? Like, we have to get to that point, because if not, then nobody gets that money and foreclosure happens and we're screwed. And don't think it's a possibility. I've been with my wife for literally like 13 years, something like that. And so there's a possibility that this stuff happens. So,
well, my wife left me in year 16.
Yeah.
And it only lasted a couple weeks, but still,
it's I've had friends. So I tend to hang out with older people just because they have their shit together a little bit more.
Thank you.
But I have a buddy
because we own Harleys.
Got divorced after 28 years, right? And I have a friend that got divorced after 35 years. Like, it happens, and you don't know when it's going to happen, and it doesn't matter the reasons and stuff like that. But so, when you set things up, just make sure you're setting it up so that way one person can't irrationally make a decision, right? But Erick, I want to tell you how awesome it is that you're guaranteeing your investment into savings accounts. Your kids. So now, sorry, when you say kids savings, is it one savings account for all the kids, or do you have multiple? Okay.
Yep.
So
For now, just because I'm trying to figure out that I'm right now, I'm controlling the bottleneck of my finances.
sure.
So instead of spreading it across 3 accounts, once I have a certain dollar amount in mind, once I reach that, I'll be able to split equally, and then be able to contribute individually. I'm allowed to have up to 7 different accounts or 7 different contributions from my paycheck. But right now I'm controlling that bottleneck, so I know exactly where every dollar is. The only thing that I don't like right now is I did start an Acorns account,
Yep.
and it's so incredibly easy. Like it really, really is. And it's like, wow. So and here's why I started the Acorn account. Not just because of suggestion, because I kind of thought about it a little bit here and there anyways. But in my check ledger, I use an electronic check ledger on my phone.
Yep.
And it's just an app, and there are hundreds of them out there. But whenever I made a purchase anyways, if it was $1.15, I always put in my ledger that I was paying $2 for it.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, I'm doing this anyways. You know, at the end of the month, I'm not going to figure things down to the penny. So I might as well just kick the rest of that into the account. And I've
Yep.
been doing that, and I'm watching that account grow as well.
Sure.
So, and it's, 40, 50 cents at a time. But at the end of the month, when I realized that I got an extra $17, well, that's what it was in the beginning. Now I use my debit card for everything because no credit card bill, no
Right.
no credit card payments. So now I can use my debit card for everything.
Yep.
So now it's like, okay, at the end of the month, the first month or the first cycle was like $17, but now I'm looking at like 45 and $50. And it's like, was I really losing that in my checking account? Because it'd be like 2 days before payday, I see that I have $50 in there. I'm like, oh, well, I must not have, wrote something down or whatever. And I painfully go through my ledger and go, where's my money? What happened? Now I know where it's at, and I can keep track of that. I like the fact that when I get to payday, let's see here. I'm just gonna kind of tell you guys a little disclosure here. Looking at my ledger on my checkbook, payday was Friday.
Okay.
I am used to Monday rolling around and going, okay, well, I got $33 for gas. I got $10 for meals. This and another thing. I'm looking at my check ledger right now. I have almost $800. My payday was Friday, and I just made a Harley payment. I have never in my life done that because, number one, payday every 2 weeks sucks. It's terrible for people that don't make a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible. I think fast food workers should get paid every week.
Agreed.
I think that anybody in any industry should get paid every week. And it used to be that way 20 plus years ago. Nick, you wouldn't know that because you're in diapers, but 20 years ago in the industry, like I started working at 8 years old. I got paid every week from my grandparents' hardware store, and my paycheck every week was $15. Okay.
Sure.
And back then in 1988, you could buy GI Joes for $1. I have underwear older than you. You could buy GI Joes for $1.
Yeah.
And even back then, I was like, okay, well, I buy 3 GI Joes and some Play-Doh, and I get to put some money in my underwear drawer. Roll it up, put it in a sock, and then when it came to Christmas time, I can use my own money to buy Christmas presents. So I've always had that saving mindset, but it's always like, oh wow, look, I've got a lot of money. I can go blow this on something, and that's why my kids have their own accounts, because I don't want to get to that point.
Yeah.
So.
No, and one thing I remember, one of the biggest financial things of my life, which is stupid looking back on it. I worked when I was young as well, and I wouldn't make much, but when I got cash, right, I'd be like, oh, where do I put this cash? And I didn't have a wallet. So then you think about going to buy a wallet, and then you spend all your money on a wallet, and then you have no cash to put in it. So it's pointless to buy that wallet. But, finally I got enough to buy a wallet and then put money in there, right? Mm-hmm. And I started growing inside that. And then I learned what interest was after that. But no, like dude, so you've hit a new financial, because I know when we talked, you were talking about your son having a job, and he had more money than you did.
Yeah.
I mean, so now you're on track to get to that same point of having a savings account, having a comfort level, and affording your bills.
Yep. And with my son and watching that struggle too, he has recently negotiated a rate of pay at his job, because he is in a situation where he's like, pay me what I want or I'm out of here. And they're just like, see you, bye. And he's like, okay, well, here's my 2 weeks. I've got another job lined up. And they're like, wait. They called his bluff. And he's like, and now he's making, I think, what do you say? They gave him $1.30 raise. He's been with the company 2 years.
Sure.
And he works in a hard knuckle busting industry. He's a diesel mechanic.
Okay.
And when I think of mechanic, I think of, a lot of your money goes into your toolbox, and it does, but I also look at it as like with anybody in the professional field. If you look at things, when I worked as a EMT and a paramedic and a firefighter, I always had that dream to do that until I started getting paychecks doing that. And it's like, holy crap, what the hell was I thinking? And it depends on where you're at. It just depends on how much money you come in with. But looking at, wow, there have been a lot of messages here on Bucks and Brews that I've been missing. So I'm not going to read them. But that was one of those things where it's like, okay, if you know a paramedic or if you know an EMT, there's a high likelihood that they have a job as a firefighter or they have a second job. And I always was like, is it really that glorious? Is it really that glamorous? No, it's because it pays like shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize that until that's what I was doing. So I was a volunteer on-call firefighter. I worked as an EMT at the time. I was working as a medical examiner for the medical examiner's office. So I was working 3 jobs. I was never home. I never saw my kids. The worst thing about all of that is I was always broke.
Yep.
Because you're getting paid. I was still getting paid weekly, but it was like 1 week I got $145 from one place, and then the next week I got a really good paycheck from the other 2 places. And if I didn't go on fire calls or go on medical examiner calls, I didn't make any money.
Yep.
And not only that, but looking back, I was making money on people's illnesses, and
That's
it's
tough.
just kind of like, wow, you can't put a dollar amount on that. So.
Well, I don't want to pat us on the back or anything here. For those that have listened before, they know that my wife owns a small business here, Break Room Therapy. And we did reviews yesterday.
Yeah.
Just a, 90-day checkup on most people for, Jenna, obviously more than that. And Dawn actually came up to the podcasting room because I was working on, cutting up some shows for the YouTube. And she goes, I want to give raises. And I'm like, all right. So we sat there and we talked about raises. And literally, my wife pays every week. And our payroll runs Sunday night. So on Monday, people get a check, or actually it's a direct deposit.
Yep.
And it's for what you just worked. So, we're open Thursday through Sunday. By Monday night, Tuesday morning, you see your check in the account for what you just put in.
Sure.
So we had the review with, 3 of our employees that, have been here the longest. And she goes, so your rate of pay will be effective on the check you get on Monday. So they didn't know that they were going to get a raise, and it's not much. I mean, it's a little bit.
Sure.
But it's effective immediately. So everything they had already put in on, Thursday or Friday, and what they were working Saturday and Sunday just goes into that.
Yep.
So
I think that's great. I mean, right, like instant gratification, but you're never going to find another company that's going to do that stuff.
No.
So Erick, now we're matching our 401k. We're setting ourselves up for automated investments. Your credit card debt is paid off, and you've negotiated to have a comfortable payment for something that brings pure joy to your life in a motorcycle, right? I mean, there's, you have kids, I have a kid, and it's funny because when my daughter was born 5 years ago, my brother had just destroyed my absolute baby, right?
I was there for that.
Yeah. So we were having a meeting, and I get a call. My brother was in a big accident with my motorcycle, and but I mean, this was my dream bike, right? It was everything. So I went to go test drive another bike a couple years later, right? And it's funny because while on the test drive, I had to think to myself, I was like, I got to turn around. My wife and kid are waiting for me to get right back. I can't just take this thing for a long haul. But when you're on the bike, right? Like if it's a beautiful day, if it's everything about it, gosh, it just takes away all the craziness of life, right? Because yeah, you're focused on not getting hit and doing whatever, but like there's just no experience that you can describe to people. You just have to feel it, right? So the wind through our hair. But now you're caught up. Everything on the house is completely paid. You're doing successful in life. What are your goals for this new job?
Well, I have no desire to go into management again. If I can maintain what I've got and not have to be a manager, I'm okay with that. I watch my bosses work 12 to 14 hour days. They're all salary. I'm not gonna build that nest egg on salary. And well, I will, but I'm not willing to. I mean, like you said, I've got a bike, I've got children. I've already put that slave labor into life. I can't say enough good things about my job. I'm comfortable. I'm happy. I work hard. I've got a great team. I got great people that I work with. My kids are happy. Everything's happy. Financially, moving forward, if I don't need it, I'm not going to spend it now. I'm going to put it in the bank. I like the fact that when I get a bill in the mailbox on Tuesday, I can pay it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, and the hardest part now is seeing an electric bill come and go and look at the ledger in the bank account and be like, well, if I pay this bill now, I'm going to have that much less in my bank account, but I do get paid Friday. So I'm getting out of that mindset, you know, because a majority of my excuse me, lack of funds was a matter of doing the 2 weeks, you know, put in the 2 weeks. And not only that, but being fearful for the money that I may not have. So my next step, now that I've got everything caught up, I've been on deferment with my student loans for a long time. Okay. But the other day I sat down, I took a nice long, hard look and I saw how much interest is being paid on my student loans because I've been deferment for so long.
Yep.
You know, I'm on the payment or the income based deferment with my student loans. I'm like, well, okay. So I had taken them all, I copied them over to an Excel spreadsheet. I took the highest dollar amount. I took the lowest dollar amount. So now what I'm going to start doing is start chipping away at that lowest dollar amount and start working my way up.
Yeah.
So once I get that $697 student loan paid for, I can go on to the $800 one. So and not only that, but they don't care as long as they start getting their money back.
Yep.
You know, they're getting free money from me that I'm working hard for. So the sooner I get those paid off, I think by the end of this year, I'll actually owe less on my home than I do on my student loans. And it's like, wow. Now I don't get me wrong. I do have my degrees, but realistically speaking, folks, I don't use those. I am not working in that field at all. And that sucks because I spent all of that money and all that time in school to learn and to get certified and to get licensed and to get a degree in these fields. And I'm not utilizing that. The only thing that my company sees now is you've got a college degree, you put that time in. So anybody that's out there that's like, well, I don't want to work in that field because I got a degree in this, use that degree to your advantage, negotiate a higher rate of pay and say, look, I've got an associate's degree, or I've got a completion certificate, or I've got a bachelor's or a master's degree. You don't even have to tell them what it's for. You can use that as leverage. And that's what I did. Mine falls into the same type of field because of the background. But on the flip side of things, it was one more thing that I utilized to leverage my rate of pay. So chipping away at that student loans. I'm trying to encourage my kids to, and my son didn't have to go to school to get his certifications. He went to the company school and they said, here's your thing. You have to be here 2 years. And after 2 years, you know, you get to keep your tools. Now, anybody that's bought tools at Home Depot and Lowe's, you know that you can go in there and buy a socket set for $20, but it doesn't say, well, nowadays, I guess it does say Snap-on on it, but his tools are industry quality tools, you know? So when he pays for a new tool, he's getting his dollar amount for it. You know, he's getting his worth for it, but he uses those tools to make his money. You know, it's no different than a race car driver, you know, making their money from the sponsors that are on the outside of the car, because all the cars are built the same, right? We know better, but I did learn that you could stretch a baseball bat just a little bit and it makes your ball go farther.
Yeah.
I learned that yesterday. So
but and that's a big thing. I mean, you know, when you talk about it, so because my dad was always here's a really fun one, right? My dad was always like, hey, spend money on your tools because, you know, they're going to be worth it. And my dad owned an auto body shop or whatever, Snap On and Mako, right? It'd be fun to go into the trucks. But so I did two lockouts, right, the other day, actually within like a week from each other. And the first lockout, I have my Harbor Freight set, and I take my bit and I'm drilling into the lock, and I mean, I tell you, this thing takes me forever. But I happen to be over on the other side of the state area, so over by Lansing, and I didn't have all my tools, but I had my drill. And I was like, forget it. The company's going to buy me new tools. They just don't know it. And I get the Milwaukee titanium bit, the bit set, right? And I was like, and the lady, I was like, hey, do you have a lock picking set? And she's like, no. And she goes, what size drill bit do you need? And I was like, keyhole's this big. I was like, I need it this big, right? And she goes, oh, all right, I know what you're doing. And so I take this thing. I'm not lying. I started bragging to my brother. I bragged to my boss, and I was like, thanks for buying me my new set. And I take this Milwaukee, and I was like, and I was through this thing in seconds. And I was like, holy crap, you spend, I think I paid $10 for that. And the Milwaukee, I paid like $30. And I was like, at $20, literally cut my time in more than half. I was in this house within seconds, like just drilled through the whole thing. And I was like, wow, all right, there really is, when you invest money in your tools and what your trade is, it's worth every penny.
Absolutely. And being a drywaller and painter background, remodeler,
yep.
That's absolutely true. Most of my tools were, DeWalt. All my mud mixers, my screw guns, everything was DeWalt, because at the time, those tools were the industry standard. Milwaukee was too expensive. Cobalt was too, brand specific or vendor specific. So I bought something that was universal everywhere you go.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I do have a bunch of Harbor Freight tools in my garage too. So,
oh, me too.
But I'm not going to go work on a, diesel truck with, a Harbor Freight 10 millimeter.
That's too bad. Because when I went in, so I used to use my torque wrench, because Harbor Freight has guarantees on their hand tools, right?
Yes.
So I used a torque wrench to take off lug nuts, because I didn't have I didn't have the pry bar and all that. Like, I didn't have the exact tools. And so I broke off 7 of the heads for this thing. And I kept exchanging them out, and they're like, you could just get a breaker bar. And I was like, yeah, but that's $12. And I was like, you have a lifetime guarantee. So on like the 7th one of breaking the head off, they're like, here's a breaker bar. We're paying for it. Like, don't come trade this in. You've cost us too much money. And so I took my breaker bar, and I was like, yep, here we go. So I get what you're saying about the Harbor Freight, but I mean, if you just piss them off enough, they're going to make you happy, right? Because
right.
I shouldn't be using a torque wrench to take off.
We do
nuts.
tend to play the long game here, don't we?
I mean, that tire took me, I don't know, 4 hours to get off, but.
Well, how much time did you spend going back to Harbor Freight?
What's that?
How much time did you spend going back to Harbor Freight getting
like 4 hours? But yeah. I was so broke, I couldn't afford it, right? Like, a breaker bar was $13, or a torque wrench, which I needed at the end of it, was $13. I could only buy one back in the day. I remember being so broke, and it was like I didn't finance anything back then. Like, I still don't. But that's when all of a sudden I was like, hey, if you want to give me one that I can borrow, and they're like, nope, and I kept breaking it, right? Because that metal just wasn't strong enough. And they're like, we're not supposed to warranty if you don't use it for the right thing. And I was like, it's on a lug nut, whether it's going left or right doesn't matter. You have to warranty this. And then finally they're like, just take this, right? And so I was out there and I changed my tire, and they're like, I'm a happy guy, right? Now I'm a Harbor Freight enthusiast. I go for everything.
Well, and that's great. That's the way Craftsman used to be, and that's why Craftsman tools, you had to go to Sears to get Craftsman, because and not only that, but they lasted a long time. But I actually just sent you a link on Messenger that'll help. I sent it to Nick. I'll send it to you too, Dave, so he doesn't have to. But it's for some tools, and well, he'll share it with you when he gets back. Anyway, it's lock tools. And you probably wouldn't have thought about this unless you had a firefighter friend that sent this link on. So finances are great. And like I said, I was talking about saving that money and starting to pay off my other debts, and being able to utilize a financial plan and being able to, break things down dollar for dollar of where my money's going and what I'm doing with that money. Another thing that I've done, and Nick will probably be happy to hear this just as much as you are, is I stopped going to the drive-through.
Mm.
I'm not doing that anymore. And I've cut back on energy drinks.
Okay.
And everybody knows I'm a big dipper, so now you buy in bulk.
Okay.
But I'm actually tapering off on that too. So that's the next thing that I'm gonna quit to save some money. And it's only about $100 a month, but still, it's $100 a month. It could be going towards student loans or Harley payment or a new leather jacket or whatever it is.
So what we're basically looking at here is the steps you've made since we talked in November.
Mhm.
You got a better paying job.
Yep.
So you're getting what you're worth now.
Almost.
Okay, so
Almost.
in the range of what you're worth,
Mhm.
you've been able to attack your debt and pay that down. You've been able to go buy a new toy, which we all need toys. You've been able to look at your budget and say, okay, well, I can cut, running through the drive-through out. I can cut down on energy drinks. I can cut down on chew. So as he throws in a big wad of chew.
I ain't mad at you.
So you can sit there and say, he's buying in bulk now. So you can sit there and say, well, these are areas that I'm saving some money on. I'm throwing more money in my acorns. I'm making investments, into my savings account for my children. And, those are all huge. I mean, if you took one of those steps, that's huge.
Well, you look at like what makes me proud, right? Like what makes me proud. Okay, so the fact that you used to be a Honda guy and you went to Harley, that's fine. But you looked at, I don't care that you financed, like it sucks, right? But you sat there and said, look, this is my budget of what I can afford, right? Like you took ownership of your finances and said, hey, this is how much I can afford. This is how much I'm willing to pay. Nothing less or nothing more. And you actually comprehend the money aspect of things, right? Like, hey, I know that if I do this, sure. And you looking back at the first original one they can give you, it was like, sure, you could have done that before you took a look at your finances, but if you had a hiccup, you were screwed, right? Then you lose your bike, then you lose, or then you make the decision: do I pay for this bill or do I pay for my bike, right? And do I keep gas on the house or do I pay for my bike, right? And just now you're looking, going, I don't have to make the decision. I can pay for both and still have it, right?
Well, the biggest thing about that though, Nick, is I could have done this in my old job.
Yeah.
I could have done this with the money that I was making. The new job with the more money and this and that and the other thing. It was just because that's why this was such a game changer. When Dave invited me onto the show, he's like, we want to talk to people about their debt. When I came on in November, it wasn't a matter of you guys telling me how to fix my money. It wasn't a matter of you guys telling me how to apply my money to other things. It was a matter of just opening my eyes to the fact that I'm fucked financially. I need to un-F myself. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop the F-bomb, but
all the time.
So, but the biggest thing is I had to unfuck myself, and I needed someone to show me that it was possible. And like I said, I'm making more money. Yeah, I'm working more overtime. Yeah, I'm working less overtime and bringing home more money, but the dollar sign at the end of the day isn't what matters. It's the ability to make that money work for you.
Yeah.
So yes, that was huge, the job transition and this and that and the other thing, but understanding how my paychecks work and understanding how the money goes out and understanding that if you don't pay a bill and you have to pay a $35 late fee, that adds up at the end of the month when you have 5 of them, so that was the biggest thing. It wasn't a matter of, my new job saving my life. It was a matter of you guys opening up my eyes to the ability to work on my finances. I could have done this at $10 an hour.
Yep.
But it was cutting out those things that I didn't need. It's putting money away, even if it's 10, 15 bucks or whatever. I think I jumped in on one of your guys' podcasts one day and I was just like, hey, la, 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 la. But in 1 year, 365 days, my credit score has jumped 92 points in 1 year.
That's huge.
And you know what a majority of that is? That's making an extra payment on a credit card bill per month. And it didn't even have to be a ton. an extra $5 on a credit card payment shows that you're making the effort. You're creating inertia in your finances.
Yeah.
So, and most people don't look at that. And like you just said, turning the gas off or paying my bike payment. Well, that's an easy one. You know, I need to have gas in my home so that I can have hot water. I don't take hot showers anyways, but I'll tell you what, when it comes to cooking food, you can't cook without gas, you know, unless you go outside and use the grill. But in 10-degree weather, that's no fun.
Right.
You know, I've done it. I've been there. I've come home from a weekend away and the power's out and all the pipes are frozen and this and that sucks. You know, so I don't ever want to live like that again. I now am living within my means, whereas before I think I was on the concentric circle more like 3 rings out on living within my means. And now I've really roped it in. And it's just a matter of listening to the podcast and watching you guys get excited about people saving money and putting their money to work for them. So.
And that's I appreciate that feedback because, you know, I love that we've had you on and you literally just come and say, look, 10, $15 it adds up, because people don't realize how much that actually adds up, man. Like
it doesn't have to be money changing wealth.
Oh,
Just
God.
a little bit.
But right, because like non-money changing wealth will eventually change you, right? Like, I mean, it's insane.
I know Erick's listening to some of our episodes, so we've had Mike on, and Mike's like, you know, on the weekends I don't have my kids, if he's not coming up here to help with break room therapy, he decided, well, I'm just sitting at home watching TV. I'll go do DoorDash, you know? So we'll make 60, 80, $100 a weekend doing DoorDash just to throw in investments. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. He paid for summer camp this year for his son.
That was the big thing.
Off of DoorDash.
Yep.
And he doesn't mind doing it. It's, you know, fairly easy money. You know, I do surveys. I do a bunch of surveys. I make somewhere between $1,000 and $1,800 a year on surveys. It's a pain in the butt, but it's, you know, very low maintenance money.
Yeah, it's funny because every time I pick up money now, I think of you.
Yeah, as you should.
So I was showing a property the other day down in Kalamazoo, and I walked by a dime that's in the driveway, and I was like, whatever. And then I was like, dude, if I leave that dime there, like I'm just gonna feel like an a-hole.
Yeah.
So I go and I get the dime, I put it in my pocket, and then like I made sure when I got home, I took the change out of my pocket and put it into I separate all my coins so it's easier to roll. And I was like, you know, it's that hour, right? I made 10 cents extra an hour, right? Like it was huge for me.
Well, that's sometimes the way you have to look at it. Okay, well, I picked up a dime. And again, Bill Gates can bend over, and it costs him more money to bend over to pick up $100 bill than it does to walk by it.
Yep.
I'm not Bill Gates.
Yep.
I'm going to pick that penny up.
It's funny you talk about that. I don't know what your pennies and pop was about yesterday, but I think did I see that you guys you had a giving jar?
We do. We have for kids, we have to spend, to save, and to give.
Yep.
And we had one of our viewers go, what should my child do with their giving jar? So we did an episode of different things you can do with a giving jar.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Erick.
It's crazy because I started this about 2 weeks ago. Anytime I find a quarter laying around the house, okay, a quarter, it's got to be 25-cent piece.
Yep.
I make the effort. I put that in a jar. Just drop it in the jar. I've got it's a Star Wars Death Star bank that I put the quarters into.
Beautiful.
Okay. And then I've got a 5-gallon jug, empty 5-gallon jug. Now, this is what I do with my giving jar. That quarter is 25 cents. 4 times is $1, you know, but I find change all over the place. I find it at work. I find it on the street, just like Nick and you, and you know, pick that nickel or that quarter up. I cannot put that into my Star Wars bank though, until I find a nickel to go with it. Okay. So I make the effort to find that additional 5 cents. I rub juju on that 5 cents and I put it in the 5-gallon jug. Okay. So I'm making that 25 cents, but I'm also putting the effort into giving juju to something else. And then eventually I'll be able to cash that juju in and give it to somebody who needs it. I mean, you look at people that make charitable donations. Okay. You got a 5-gallon water jug. A 5-gallon water jug full of pennies is like $1,388. Okay. It's not a lot of money. You do it with a nickel, it's 5 times that. You do it with quarters, it's 25 times that. Okay. But I'm making the effort to find this 25-cent piece and putting the effort into somebody else, you know, whether it's charity or whether it's, you know, paying off a bill or whatever. But I'm making the effort to find that nickel to accompany that, so that someone will benefit from it. And not only that, but I rub a little bit of juju on there, and there you go. So it's all good juju money, and it's given in good faith, no matter who takes it. I started that years ago with a 5-gallon jug, and I never put that good fortune on there. And my kids would steal the change all the time. And ever since I started doing that good juju on that water jug, I'm not finding my change disappear. So there may be some karmic activity happening or something like that, but nobody touches my nickels anymore. And not only that, but it's a nickel. You know, that's where a lot of kids don't understand that over time, saving that nickel will add up to dollars too, pennies as well. And when they go through that whole coin shortage thing, it's like, okay, well, I'll bring one of my 2 5-gallon water jugs and I'll pour them right into your Coinstar, and all you're going to do is convert that to digital currency anyways. So that's not tangible funds. And because it's not tangible, people don't even think about it. But I've had moments where I've gone to do laundry and I've found, $1.40 in the washing machine of change. It's like, hey, is this your change? Yeah, you can have it. Okay.
See ya.
Thank you.
I will happily take that change.
Just say that's
So
Well, and not to interrupt, but one of my favorite things Nick's done is a few years ago, he said, hey, I'm going to go buy some pizzas and I'm going to walk around and hand pizzas out to, homeless people. And I think Dawn bought a couple of those pizzas, and Nick wandered around Grand Rapids, and when he found homeless people, he'd hand them an entire freaking pizza.
No, it was anybody. It wasn't just homeless. If you were hungry, I would stop runners
Right.
on the street. Are you hungry? Well, I'm out running right now, so I don't want to eat. And I was like, come back, get some pizza, man. It's here. Like, right? Yes, homeless people happen to be the 99% of them, but I didn't care, right? Like, and then when you're around, like people want to come around and they want to pray for the homeless, and I'm like, hey, you guys hungry? I'll feed you while you pray. Like, I don't really care. Like,
and working in the medical field, in the emergency medical field, what a lot of people don't realize about homeless people is, or I've always called them, urban migrants, or whatever. But here's the thing: there is so much humility in a majority of those people.
Yep.
Like if you sit down and have a conversation with somebody who is down on their luck, we think we have problems with all of our bills and shit like that, but you sit down with them, they don't have any bills, but they don't have anything else either. If you have a conversation with them, you'll really identify with what life's like, and I can only imagine what it's like to be so cold, but to feed them, that's all they ever want. That I'm hungry, and that's the biggest complaint that we always had. That's why we had a lot of calls for service for homeless, was they just want to go to the hospital and get a sandwich and a juice box, and then all they have to do is say, well, I've got some abdominal pain, and they get to stay in a warm bed for, 4 to 8 hours. And that's what a lot of people, I used to be the guy that would pull up to the off ramp and be like, I'm not giving you any money. There's a reason why you're standing on this corner. Well, yeah, there is a reason, but it's not because they're all addicts or they're all, some of them have lost their jobs. And amidst this whole thing with COVID, I know a lot of people that have lost their jobs, and it's like, they're not homeless yet, but they're close, so that's a really cool thing. And a lot of people don't give a lot of credit to those people. They're out there hustling. They're out there trying to make that money. And even if they stay in a hotel, can't be pissed about that, because at least they got a warm bed to sleep in. You're throwing change at them and stuff like that, or you're driving right by them and not giving them a peace of mind or any mind at all. I'm just trying to speak out here for the homeless population for a moment, because they don't get the love that they deserve. And there are some out there that are just, but there's some out there that make, $3,000-$4,000 a month, depending on the corner they're standing on too. And they're doing quite well. So you just got to be careful with that. But when you're not specific, you said you were handing them out to runners and stuff like that. That's generosity. That's what the world needs, is that generosity. You're not giving them money to go blow it on something. You're giving them something tangible and something acquirable. And if it is a matter of they're hungry, you're doing the right thing. So I think that was super cool. That was a really great story.
Well, I think one of the things we're really missing, especially in real world 2021, is that actual generosity and caring for other people. So I made a post on the business Facebook page yesterday about masks. You need to wear masks here, and this is the right way to wear them. And some jackass came in and basically said, you people are sheep and you shouldn't wear masks and blah, blah, blah. And pissed my wife off, obviously, and she can't do anything because she's in Facebook jail. So
We've all been there.
She said white trash on the shopping cart that was on top of the shopping
Oh, the
center.
building. Yeah.
So they put her in Facebook jail for that. So I went and I basically made a post saying, if this is a controversial statement for you, we're probably not the place for you. Because again, we're very tolerant of many, many things, but only caring about yourself isn't one of them.
No.
And the easiest thing you can do, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't like it.
It sucks.
You like it?
No.
Eric?
No, not a fan, but I do it because I have to.
I do it because I actually give a shit about other people. Okay. And whether it's really, I believe it really does help. Now, does it help 100%? Hell no, it doesn't help 100%. But even if it helps 50%, it didn't hurt me.
But neither do vaccinations. They don't work 100%. And
exactly. So I'm wearing the mask. I'm doing it because I actually care about the other people. I mean, I hate everybody, but I don't want to hurt anyone necessarily.
I say I'd rather be able to fight with you than have you be dead and not
Right.
fight with you, right? I mean,
so I mean, I'll wear it because it doesn't, at the end of the day, hurt me. Does it make it a little harder to breathe? Sure, it makes it a little harder to breathe. But if I'm out doing something physical, do I want to take the mask off so I can breathe a little better? Sure. So I'll go away from people. I'll take it off for a minute and I breathe.
I'm getting better at that aspect of when I was at the casino, right? And you got to wear a mask and everything about it. And so, I catch myself constantly, like I'm holding my mask and drinking and whatever, and it just goes right back on. So, that's a whole nother episode, another topic. But Eric, anything else that you're wanting to tell us about finances?
it's kind of weird being on the positive side of things nowadays. I really don't. Just what I was saying earlier about the whole, you can do it at $10 an hour, just the same as you can at $30 an hour. Okay. It's just a matter of getting a grasp on, sit down, make that budget, figure out what you can cut out. I don't pay for Hulu now because you know what? I don't watch TV. So I have it. I have internet because I do the Gumball Head broadcast.
Yep.
And I do music and I network and I Facebook and I Zoom with you fellas. And I do a lot of work on my computer, so I have to have the internet. Not only that, but the most important thing about the internet is PlayStation 4. So you got to do that. You got to have the internet, but I don't have to have Hulu because I don't care about the majority of the TV programs that are on there. And if you got Hulu, great. But if you're pissing and moaning because you're $10 short at the end of the month, cut something out that you don't need. I got poor man's internet. I switched my phone plan to reduce my bill. Mind you, I do have one of the higher end phones, but I have a lower rate plan because the majority of my day I'm somewhere Wi-Fi capable. So I don't need all that data that I was getting, so just cutting out those things in that you don't need. Nick walked away when I was talking about it. I don't hit drive-thrus anymore. I don't do energy drinks hardly at all anymore. I don't buy one Gatorade when I go to the store. I buy 6. They're 2 for $3, or you pay $1.89 a piece. People don't think about that, but it adds up over time. It's only 25 cents, but it's 25 cents, and that 25 cents could put a nickel in another jar,
Yep.
So it's just taking a completely different mindset on your finances and getting to understand what that breaks down to financially. Long term, it didn't take you a quick time to get in debt or to become financially unstable. It's going to take a while to get out of that. My success story is far different than a lot of other people out there. I get it, but I've struggled for a long time too. And now I'm getting on that upslope. So
you'll continue to find that struggle. I mean, right? Like I'm where I'm at in life and I still to this day feel like I struggle, right? Like
absolutely.
From the outside looking in, everybody's like, oh, you're fine, you're set, you're this. And it's like, dude, like right now I'm not in a low point in my life, but like I remember months ago and it was just holy shit, like I feel so broke, I feel unsuccessful, I feel this and my wife's like, you have more money than anybody that we know and people combined, and how do you feel that way? And it's like, because I live such this lifestyle, like I haven't had the opportunity to go spend something to feel like I'm untouchable for 2 seconds, like I live very within my means. I will always live within my means, right?
We're conscious of that.
Very much, because we know at any given point, like it could all just go away.
it can definitely just go away. And I think, for anybody that hasn't listened to us before, and honestly, the three of us are probably the best example of this. We're extremely open with our mistakes. We screw up all the time. We're happy to discuss those. I mean, the first episode, if you haven't listened to the first episode with Eric, go back and listen to it, because, you'll listen to him and I talk about addiction. And, I called him up because I was worried about, am I drinking too much? Which, mind you, I do a podcast, which half of it's based around drinking. And, we have flaws. We're human beings.
Yep.
But we're always trying to improve. And I think that's the best part. I reached out to Eric this week because, I got a buddy who, he's feeling kind of lost and stuff. And I'm like, hey, I got a guy, you should talk to him. And I don't know if he'll take that step, but I know that having Eric there gives the opportunity to possibly help him or somebody he might know, or, and I called Eric first. I'm like, hey, I need to give your number out. And are you okay with that? And he goes, yeah, you don't even have to ask my permission. You got somebody to give it to, just give it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm still going to ask.
Yeah. That's respect. And I appreciate that very much. And it's one of those things too, like addiction's not fun to talk about. A lot of families and friends. I'm not going to go way into this. That's what the Gumball Head broadcast is for. The SAMHSA addiction hotline number, 1-800-662-HELP. If you know somebody or you're struggling with addiction, you don't want to reach out to some stranger guy that has a gumball machine as a logo, give the SAMHSA addiction hotline a call. Or, send me an email, gumballheadkzu@gmail.com. I have no problems talking to people. I spend a lot of time doing that. If I don't email straight away, just know that I do check my emails frequently. One more thing I just want to kind of toss out at Nick, and actually now, Dave, because you have investments in properties as far as your business and stuff like that goes. When I lived the landlord lifestyle for quite a few years, one thing that I did learn is people would say to me all the time, well, yeah, but you got rental properties. I don't think people realize how much money actually goes into those rental properties. When people piss and moan about $900 a month for rent or $1,000 a month for rent, I don't think they realize that you're not only paying your mortgage, but paying all repairs out of that too. Yep, it's one thing to have all these rental properties, but sometimes you got to have 5 of them just to pay for one. And it's tough. So if you're bitching about rent, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I could do hours and hours of that, right? But like, we were just talking about it beforehand. I have a backup in one of my units right now, right? And I'm paying weekend rate, and there goes literally,
any profit.
let's say half of what their rent was, right? Yep. And so it doesn't, I still have a mortgage on it. I don't cover anything. And people always say, well, if you don't have the money, you shouldn't invest. And like everybody has an excuse for every fucking thing in the world, and everybody has an opinion on it, and it's like, look, if I didn't pay cash for it, then you wouldn't have cheap rent. And then you just have an asshole owner that literally just charges you the world. So sure, we can just let the rich get richer or whatever, but I'm willing to take this opportunity. So that's a long, different, another tangent story for me.
Well, we have a comment here
angry.
I want to hit. So, Robbie, I'm going to guess this how we say this. I watched an economic video saying that half the jobs are going to disappear because of AI. Yeah, that's a good possibility. It's a good possibility. A lot of jobs will disappear because of AI, but in all honesty, they've been talking about that since the 80s.
Yep.
I mean,
and not only that, but people crave human interaction. So
yep.
So that's going to be a challenge. I wouldn't say half. I think the last statistic that I read, and I do a lot of research on this stuff too, because of Zoom and interaction. Sorry to cut you off, Dave, but
no, go ahead.
I think it's 31% has already disappeared because of AI and has gone technological. So Zoom and emails and doing things over the computer, Facebook Marketplace, people are selling, blah, blah, blah. But that is true. But technology is so heavily relied on that it's become an addiction for people, and we're making excuses. We can change that. We can turn that around. So like break room therapy, you go in there and smash it and you feel good when you leave. You can't do that with a computer. I mean, I want to smash my controller on my PlayStation sometimes, but I know it's going to cost me $60 if I do. So sorry, Dave, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But it's a good $60 well spent for that 2 seconds. I want you to know that.
sit there and really, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to reinvent jobs. And if you're always trying to evolve and always trying to learn, you're going to be able to do those things. You know, Eric and I are both older. You know, we're going to retire in the next 15, 20 years. Nick, not quite.
I retired fucking 6
Yeah,
months ago.
Nick's retired technically. But, you know, I don't have to worry about reinventing myself as much as my daughter does or Eric's 3 kids do,
Yeah.
because, you know, they're young. And they, you know, I know my daughter's going into 3D animation and she wants to make video games. So that's going to be around because, you know, I was playing the Atari 2600 at, you know, 6. And then I was playing a Nintendo. And I mean, Eric can go here with me too, because he probably had the Nintendo and either a Nintendo 64 or Genesis. I had the Genesis.
I have those.
Yep. So, I mean, you know, we played all those games. Nick and I have had conversations here before talking about Tecmo Super Bowl being the greatest game ever, because you can play that for hours. And, you know, you look at those things. Eric's son's doing, you know, great at his job because, you know, it's something he enjoys doing. He's really good at it. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Nope, you can't. Like I said, it's hands-on. It's a hands-on job, you know. And not only that, but Harbor Freight screwdrivers are quite affordable. So don't use a hammer.
Say, I agree. I mean, we've all been there, you know. Eric, I want to appreciate you coming back on and give us an update. Congrats on getting out of credit card debt. That's huge. That's a freaking victory right there. In its
Huge
own.
victory.
Really excited to have you on again here after a while, talking about where you are with the house and where you are with the student loan debt.
Eric goes live weekly with Gumball Head.
Gumball Head.
I too. Yeah.
Sunday nights.
Sunday 6 p.m. I try to go. Sometimes I can't, but I at least try to do a couple of broadcasts a month.
So if you want to listen to more that Eric has to say, subscribe to his Podbean and you'll get a little pop up on your phone every time he goes live. And I try to hop on there when I can.
YouTube guys, we all seem to be rocking the same shirt because that's who we are as people. No, really, that's David and I. And then Eric, thanks for rocking the shirt.
The Gumball logo too in the background. You got shirts coming.
Listening.
I just got to print them up, but you guys do. You each have shirts coming. So
I can't
Oh,
wait.
dude, this is gonna be great. So like, subscribe, share, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your auntie, your mommy, your mammy. We enjoy these conversations. Sundays are always a good day to crack a few open before breakfast. And speaking of breakfast, I have to get out of here and get some.
steak and eggs, baby.
Anybody that's been on here listening to us, if you have questions, please reach out. If you want to be on the show and talk about your debt, please reach out. We'd love to talk to everybody. We want to celebrate your successes. And honestly, if the only thing you take from this is, you know, throwing a few dollars in investments, please go do that. And we will we'll be with you on Podbean hopefully this week again. Otherwise, very, very soon. And, you know, watch social media for updates. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're always updating stuff. So thank you for joining us on Podbean. Those of you that are on Zoom, that's the one that'll get uploaded to Podbean because that's always the longer one. We got 3 new followers today from that.
Is Facebook stopped? Or
Zoom's still going. So as Nick said, like, subscribe, share. We'll go ahead and stop that. Talk to Eric for a quick minute, and then we're all going to go get food, I think, because we're all going to be hungry, and I got a skillet at home waiting for me. So
lucky dog.